everyone. Welcome to another episode of the climate change series. And we have a guest here. We have Walia, who's got so much educational background on environmental issues, has a degree in environmental education, and she has so much passion for the environment. Walia, I'll just allow you to introduce yourself and just give us a brief background of who you are and what are your passions, what are your interests, and what are you currently doing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the program. Yeah, so just like you earlier mentioned, I have vast background of environmental education. That's basically my field of study, and I've done a lot of work around environmental education. Though currently I'm not really actively working in the environment because I've kind of diverted, but environmental issues are something that I hold dear, and whenever I can, I really try to dedicate time and do environmental work.
Wow.
So I'm passionate so many things around the environment, in short.
Wow, that's super amazing. As you heard, Walia has been passionate about the environment, and you can see even just from her work, she started some recycling projects, and yeah, it's just that she's no longer working in the environmental sector, but that doesn't stop her from actually fighting for the environment and promoting sustainability. So Walia, today our topic of discussion, we're looking at deforestation and climate change. And the topic for today is, what is the role of deforestation in climate change, and how can reducing emissions from deforestation and degradation help? So can you just, because there is a lot of misconceptions, or it's a very debatable topic, deforestation and climate change. Can you just kindly highlight the relationship that's there between climate change and deforestation? And what impact do these have like towards each other? Like what impact does climate change have on deforestation, and what impact does deforestation have on climate change?
Okay, so normally when we have trees around us, these trees hold carbon to the environment. But then when we cut those trees, it means we release the carbon that those trees are storing into the atmosphere, which causes climate change, because we have an excess of carbon dioxide in the environment. In as much as people do not really believe that is the case, that's really what happens. And that is why we have what we call climate change. And when you look around us, we notice that the climatic conditions are not the way they used to be a long time. This is because of practices that we human beings have embraced, negative practices like land degradation and deforestation, which we're talking about right now. So we see that people do not prioritize environmental protection. The main center of the economic sphere, which shouldn't be the case. People want to derive maximum benefits from the environment without really putting it at the center of everything. And with the environment, if the environment is not prioritized, it ends up affecting us in one way or the other. So if you notice, right, the people who are in agriculture are also suffering the negative impacts of the climatic change that we have caused as humans. If you notice, the produce that we are yielding is different from that which we used to yield a long time ago. The quality of the thing has been compromised because of the changes in climatic condition. When you look at the rain pattern, it's not as predictable as it used to be a long time ago. We see the rains at the time when they're supposed to come, the intensity of the rainfall, everything has been negatively affected by us humans. So really, we need to do a lot in order for us to normalize situation.
Wow, you've mentioned a lot of things that I was actually going to And you've already explained some of the things. And a lot of people nowadays don't realize that there is so much impact that deforestation has on climate change, or in short, it's like a drive, it's actually a drive to climate change. And usually when we talk about deforestation, people don't understand that the trees that we have, or the reason why we're actually promoting trees to be planted, is because trees act as carbon sinks, and these trees actually take up a lot of carbon dioxide. And if we are actually cutting up down these trees, it means that the gas will not have where to actually, like, the gas will actually not sink in the plants or the trees. It will actually just be there in the atmosphere. And this is why we're actually trying to promote afforestation. When we talk about deforestation, people actually practice deforestation for different reasons. Some is for charcoal burning, some is for timber production or timber exports. And most of them that you actually find doing this are people from they are the minority, people who actually can't afford a proper meal in a day. And when you actually approach these people and you tell them to say, no, what you're doing is wrong, and when you try to actually educate them or just conduct a sensitization and awareness program, they will tell you to say, no, why are you actually attacking us? And they'll give their reasons based on the fact that they think they have a share or a right to those resources, and because they feel that resources are not shared equally, and that's the only small part that they can actually get at that particular time. And so if you approach these people, they will tell you to say, this is the only way that we have of actually sustaining our livelihoods, or this is the only income that we have. We have to take children to school. We have to, their health finances that come up. There are different things, that actually cause these people to actually cut down trees for either charcoal production or timber exports. And now, what kind of approach do you think we should actually have when we are actually, teaching charcoal burners or people that are actually cutting down trees for timber business? Like, what approach should we actually have? Because their points are very valid. They tell you to say, this is the money that is actually used for my income, and if you tell me to stop cutting down these trees, then where am I going to survive? How am I going to survive? Where am I going to live? How am I going to take my children to school? What am I going to eat? So what kind of approaches can we actually adopt as we actually approach, charcoal burners or people that are in that business that are actually promoting deforestation?
Okay, so your points are very valid. People are using these wrong methods to earn a living. They've got children to take to school and basic needs to provide. So you can't simply just go to them and tell them to stop cutting down trees. That wouldn't work. So the approach that we can use as the people who are concerned about the environment, we need to engage stakeholders and the government so that we can help these people develop sustainable ways of harvesting in the environment or alternative income generating methods.
Mm-hmm.
Just hope. And then what next? How are they going to provide for their families? So either if we want them to maintain the sector of business to environmental, we need to give them sustainable ways of generating income, meaning they shouldn't overyield from the environment. So if they want to continue harvesting from trees, let's teach them sustainable ways in which they can harvest those trees minus causing a great impact to the environment. So we'll try our level best to make sure that even if they try to continue harvesting, they harvest to a level that will not negatively affect the environment or cause other environmental issues. Meaning we need to, if it means setting up groups, going in the environment, clubs, teaching them environmental issues. We'll do that in a way where we know that we'll not only protect the environment, but we'll also have these people's interests at heart so that they can be able to also continue making ends meet while protecting the environment in the process.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. It actually reminds me of an article that I saw, and it actually stated that in the last decade, the largest amounts of deforestation occurred across the humid tropics, which is mostly in Africa, and also, the South, followed by South America. So that was according to the UN Food and Agriculture organization. Now, when we look at this report, it's saying, the largest amounts of deforestation were actually being done in these parts of the continent. But when we look at the people that actually contribute mostly to climate change are people from developed countries. You find these people are into big businesses, industries, factories, and these companies and these businesses that they've actually set up are actually releasing a lot of greenhouse gases. You talk about agriculture, they have tons and tons. Like everything is just in a very unstable condition. You find that if it's agriculture that's being done, a lot of chemicals are being added to the food. Before someone actually even plants the seeds, already have the chemicals. You'll find that these companies or these business owners, if it's on an industry level, these are the people that are actually even making tons of profits out of the businesses that they're actually having, compared to a farmer who actually just wants to sell a bag of charcoal at maybe 150 kwacha. And now these people are not paying as much, they're not actually, being held accountable compared to a charcoal burner. And you find that most of these businesses that have been set up by people that are from, well-to-do families or the rich or the elite or, developed countries, they haven't been held accountable. How can we, bridge this line that's between a charcoal burner and a business owner who is making tons of profits? And, there is this charcoal burner who's actually making just little money just for their food. And they're saying, they're also contributing to climate change. But there is this business owner who's making tons of profit and tons of money, that like making a lot of money out of that. How can we, bridge this gap? And what policies can be implemented to actually ensure that even business owners or people from developed countries, they are actually held accountable? Because most of these things are happening in Africa, where we don't actually, if you look at Africa, most African countries are in the developing stage. It's just a few countries that are already on the developed stage. So now, if you consider what's being done by these developing countries and what is being done by already developed countries, it's different, and their impact is different when it comes to climate change. What policies would you think developed countries should actually have in place to be held accountable for the gases that they're actually emitting in the atmosphere?
Well, I believe policies are already there. The only problem is on the implementation part. For example, we have policy, or rather a principle, which we call polluter pays principle. So when you look at this principle, it makes a person who is contributing to pollution pay for the pollution that they are causing. And people are supposed to pay based on the quantity in which they pollute the environment. But when it comes to implementation, I believe companies are not paying sufficiently according to the emissions that they are producing. Because if they were, they would definitely want to reduce the pollution that they are emitting, because they would want to run away from the costs associated to it. So regulating bodies need to make sure they stiffen the laws when it comes to pollution, and make sure that companies pay sufficiently according to the pollution that they're emitting. Apart from that, we need to make sure that such companies or institutions adapt sustainable practices like recycling, where some of the chemicals that they produce should not be released into the environment, but can be recycled into other products.
Mm-hmm.
In such a way, the amount of pollution will be reduced. And apart from that, we need to make sure the companies practice the social responsibility that they have, because companies that are found in areas where people stay or areas where we have schools or clinics definitely have to pay back for the pollution they're producing by giving back to the community. So if these institutions are made to do so, definitely we'll see a reduction in the pollution that is emitted, because each company tries its best to maximize profits and reduce costs. So definitely there'll be a change in attitude that way.
Wow. No, like it's really amazing. You brought up, policies that can actually be implemented to just, make these countries be held accountable for their actions. And I feel, you're very right. And I wish if countries can actually come together. There was this COP26 where, countries are actually trying to adopt, the developed countries are actually trying to adopt this, where they believe that they haven't been held accountable. And, now it's a time where all countries come together to actually ensure that, we mitigate this climate change. And, if for example we say there are these countries, developed countries, that are emitting this amount of greenhouse gases, then they should pay more. And if there is this business owner that's actually emitting this level or amount of greenhouse gases or anything that is just contributing to climate change, then they should be able to be to actually pay more. And I feel by actually just doing that, we'll be limiting a lot of people that will actually be engaging in businesses that actually are contributing to climate change. And now, for example, if you look at, as I mentioned earlier, if you look at this business owner and you look at the charcoal burner, what advice can you actually tell a charcoal burner who's actually comparing themselves to a wealthy person who's, cutting things, and they're not actually being held accountable as much as they are actually being held accountable? Like, what advice would you actually give to, such a person, or a person who feels they're in that way? They feel that they're actually, being made, they're like the center of attraction because they are the easiest target. And because they feel, because us as charcoal burners, they'll just approach us and they'll tell us this and that, and we'll be able to follow. What advice can you give to that charcoal burner who feels that they are the easy target compared to, these wealthy businessmen?
I think in our approach to achieving environmental sustainability, we need to make people aware that we're not just targeting the minority groups, but everyone is actually involved in achieving environmental sustainability. So we need to bring to their attention or whichever organizations are negatively affecting the environment of the impacts that they are causing. Because the charcoal burner cannot simply say no, because they are not causing as much pollution, they will not adopt environmental sustainability and wait for other people, because change starts on an individual basis. So we need to bring to their attention the negative impacts that their lifestyle is bringing on their environment, and we can localize those examples. We look at the area that they're staying in and look at how negatively that practice they are solely doing is affecting the environment. And if we do so, definitely they might have a change of attitude, because they will see how, on a personal level, they are affecting the environment negatively, then we also need to bring to their attention that we're not just targeting them, but we're also targeting those people who are polluting to a larger degree. And we might also bring to their attention the approach that we're using and the future benefits that they will derive if they develop sustainable practices.
Wow, that's really amazing. And another way we can also try to do that is also just, empower them with different entrepreneurship skills, sustainable businesses, the things like for example, you talk about bee farming, there is different businesses, like cattle rearing, chicken farming, like any type of business that's as long as sustainable. There is tailoring, there are these skills that are there. And right now we have, a lot of companies, as a way of being held accountable, they're also releasing money to actually fund, small scale business owners, and we can just make them sustainable. I think if we try to adopt these slowly but surely, we'll actually, reach our goal. Thank you so much. I think it was a very good conversation, and I've actually learned a lot, and I'm sure other people have also learned a lot. And next time we'll talk or go in depth about, the impact of deforestation, and also how the READ project is actually helping, in actually, promoting afforestation, and also just, as we are saying, everyone has to be held accountable. So there has to be programs that have to be implemented for us to actually move away from climate change effects. And there are these READ projects that have been brought up. And in Zambia, Biocarbons is taking it up. There are different organizations that are actually taking up these projects. And I think we're actually, if we work together, we can actually achieve our goals. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Wale Walia. I'm happy to have you. Hope you enjoyed the talk.
Oh, I really did. I'm happy to have been a part of this informative discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.